Hello, my name's Carolyn and I make all my own clothes. I recently finished a year of handmade in which I wore only clothing and shoes that I'd made for a whole year. So I thought I'd just do this little video to talk about the shoes that I made for the year, because that was definitely the part of my year that attracted the most interest and attention from other people. So I started out the year with only a very few pairs of shoes. I made some simple thongs, or flip-flops as they're called in other parts of the world. Same as these ones I'm wearing today. These are just very simple. Obviously the bottom is cut out of that foam matting that's used in gymnasiums and children's play areas. It's just spongy kind of stuff. The straps are made out of corduroy strips sewn in underneath, and the bottom is just a layer of cork that's been finished with several coats of varnish just to harden it up, toughen the bottom of the shoes, and just to give them a little bit of extra life. In fact, most of the shoes I've made, I've coated the bottom with several layers of varnish in nearly all the shoes I've made, just to harden them so that they last longer, basically. I'd also had a pair of shoes that I made probably about 3 years ago. I made these shoes. These have been really good. They're just very sort of simple clog type shoes. The bottom is carved balsa wood, just blocks of balsa wood bought from the craft section of Bunnings. I carved these to fit my foot and glued on a layer of denim that's just cut from a pair of old jeans. So I kept the inseam of the jeans on the top of the foot covering as just a sort of decorative feature for the shoe. There's a layer of foam there that's I covered with the same denim and glued in place, and they were just very simple. They worked really well. So the bottom of the shoe I glued a layer of rubber sheeting that I bought from Bunnings. I just cut that to size and glued that in place just so that I could wear them in all terrain and in all weathers, and it just protects the fabric on the bottom of the shoe from being damaged. And very simple, but they worked really well. I also made this pair of clogs. These also worn a lot throughout the year. The bottom is just carved pine, and the top, this is a piece of suede. This is just fake suede. Both of these are lined with like a sort of thick white cotton, very sort of strong and thick, and they were just nailed into the bottom of the into the wooden bottom of the shoes. On the bottom I just put a layer of cork on the front part and a layer of black rubber sheeting just for a little bit of cushioning there. But we replaced that. That's really wearing away. I actually wore these like an absolute ton, so they were really good. But yeah. Once the wiper weather started getting a bit cold and I started to think, oh, I needed some winter shoes, something a bit more covering up my whole feet that I could wear, I started to get serious about buying a pair of lasts, and my friend Megan sent me a link to an eBay seller of lasts where I bought my first pair of lasts. These are wooden lasts. I think they're vintage because they're wood, because nowadays I think most lasts are made from like a resin type material. I don't think it makes any difference though whether your shoes are wood, your lasts are wood or resin. Doesn't make any difference. Using these, I made a pattern for, I think my first pair of shoes was an Oxford shoe. You just cover the lasts all over with masking tape. Once your shoe is not firmly covered thickly with masking tape, you then draw in the seam lines for your shoes. In the case of an Oxford shoe, would come up and around the front of the shoe, back down the other side, and seam at the middle back. Once you've drawn that in, you cut along the seam lines with a scalpel, gently peel off your pattern pieces of masking tape, lay them down on a piece of card or something and cut around them to get your shoe pattern. My first shoe pattern is this sort of Oxford, which looks something like that. Using these I started making my Oxford shoes. Some of my earlier shoes, I did throw out some of my earlier ones that didn't work very well, but the ones that did work, I think these were my first like really successful pair of Oxfords. I was really hard on these, and these have been absolutely great. Excuse me. So these are just made out of a paisley jacquard from Spotlight, lined with like a pale yellow suede fabric, also from Spotlight stores. Yeah, these have this front part of the shoe has a toe puff, what's called a toe puff inside, which is made of denim. I made mine as a fairly thick denim and several coats of PVA glue to really stiffen it, harden it up, make this area really stiff, to give some structure to the shoe. Also, there's the same sort of thing in the back part of the shoe. They're called a heel counter. I always cut mine to sort of stretch right from where the toe puff is, about this point, right up there and around the other side as well, to come right down to where the toe puff starts. The same thing, just denim coated with several layers of PVA glue just to kind of stiffen them up. Actually, funny story with this, some of my earlier shoes. There's a cobbler living in the town where my parents live, and my mum had said to him, "Oh, my daughter makes her own shoes," and he said, "Get her to bring her shoes in and show me next time she's in town." So Mum said, "Oh, you've got to take your shoes in to show the cobbler." And I was like, okay, this could be embarrassing because I didn't have much confidence in my shoes back then. But anyway, we went in and I took my shoes in, and he went, picked up a shoe. He started going, swishing around and trying to pull the heel off, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's he doing to my shoes?" But they didn't fall apart, obviously. They stuck together, and he went, "It was a good pair of shoes, that's well done." And so I was really horrified that he was trying to pull my shoes apart, but actually it was a good lesson. Like, your shoes actually have to be tough, and if I had fallen apart, then obviously they wouldn't withstand the knocks of life. So while I was kind of horrified, it was something to learn. Your shoes actually have to withstand. You put a lot of strain on your shoes. Every time you walk, you're doing all kinds of tough stuff in your shoes, and they have to be, hardy. I've actually resoled these once. You see, I've glued a new layer of rubber sheeting on the bottom of those and on the heels as well. That actually started to wear away a bit, so they needed fixing. So that was a simple matter to cut a new piece of rubber to go on the bottom and to glue that on, and making them practically as good as new. So they'll keep going for a little bit longer. Also made these black suede ones that got worn a lot. It's hard to see them. The black suede just soaks up the light, but they're just made the same as the other ones. They're lined with like a dark brown suede. They've got a liner. In all my shoes, I put like a foam insole inside that's covered in the same fabric that I used to line the shoes. That's just sitting in there, really. So I can take that out and replace that with a new liner if it starts to get a little bit thin, wearing down a bit. If the shoes start to feel a bit hard, it's time to put in a new soft foam liner just to provide a little bit of cushioning for your feet. Underneath the liner, I usually hammer in a few nails, like through and down into the heels, just to kind of help keep the heels in place. I don't know if that's actually really necessary, whether professional or proper shoemakers do that or not, but it's just a little bit of extra insurance. I don't know if it's necessary. Obviously, the head of the nail is up at the top and pointing down, because I don't want to get nails on the bottom of my feet. The special thing about these really is that this black suede is from a local tannery that closed down years and years ago. So we don't have that tannery anymore, but we got very fortunate to get a little bit of leather from our local Fremantle tannery. So it's a little bit of local special thing. Also made a pair of desert boots in my year. These are made out of upholstery fabric, the same sort of fabric you would use to cover dining room chairs or something like that. These use a different pattern, obviously, from the Oxfords. You can see they've got a different shape at the top there. This part of the shoe sits over this toe vamp, I think it's called. I'm not 100% sure if that's the right term or not, but these are lined with the same dark brown suede. And there's just a layer of cork in the heel there, just something a little bit interesting or different. Yeah, these have been good as well. Upholstery fabric's actually great for shoes. It's probably just as good as leather, I would say. It's really tough. That's the natural colour of the upholstery fabric as I got it. It's just that lovely colour already. Also made, this is probably my favourite pair of Oxford shoes, really, this white pair. This was also made out of upholstery fabric. It's actually a beige colour, and I cut out the Oxford pieces, laid them down and sprayed them just with white spray paint, and made the shoes after that. Because I wanted an all-white shoe, I used white rubber sheeting to make the sole and the heels. The heels are just the same sheeting, just cut out the heel shape and sand them all down, glue them together to make a stacked heel. Glue to the bottom of the shoe, a few nails through the shoe at the bottom just to finish them off as before. Yeah, these are actually my favourite Oxfords. I love wearing these. I also made these shoes. This is the same fabric. This is its natural colour. These ones spray painted white. This is the colour that the fabric is. So yeah, that's upholstery fabric too, obviously. These are, I sort of wanted a little shoe booty, shooty type thing. These are really cute. They just had a little, just sort of did that, I don't know, for fun. Didn't sort of wear these as much as I should have. They didn't go with as much in my wardrobe as I was hoping, but they're kind of cute. I should wear them more. I do really like them. This seaming on this one is a bit different. So this seaming is the same pattern that I used for my winter boots, which I should show you because these are my proudest moment was making these winter boots. So these are my winter boots. These were hard. I almost gave up on these a couple of times, but they came together in the end, and I'm just really, really pleased with how they turned out in the end. So that's seaming. I've got an extra seam. These are just made out of vinyl. I think it was UV resistant vinyl from Clark Rubber, from memory. Yeah, they just worked really well. They're lined with the same dark brown suede, suedette, not real suede. They've just been fantastic. So, the logistics of them just about defeated me at the time, but I'm so glad they finally came together. That they don't have a zip in them or anything. I made them the leg part wide enough that I can just like shove my foot in. So that's just a very, very sort of simple style. This decorative bit here. This is a D-ring and just a little swivel clip. That was just decorative. They don't do anything. This is actually the weakest part of the boot. I was out once and I looked down and one of these was missing. It was just broken and gone, and I was horrified, but fortunately I had a spare one, so when I got home I unpicked this stitching here. See the stitching? I just unpicked that, replaced the swivel clip, and was just super careful with them from then on. But yeah, they're a bit pathetic really. I don't think they're metal, they're just plastic really, painted silver. So if I could find some really heavy duty metal ones to replace those, that'd be great, because yeah, it's a nice idea, but I don't like having to be careful of my shoes. I just want to wear them and not have to worry about stuff. And so the fact that I've got to look after this part of my shoe, just need to find some nice metal clips. Anyway, they're probably my finest hour, and they were my most worn shoes throughout the year. I wore them like well over 100 times, 100 days, so they were fantastic. When I made these, I made the pattern for these. I covered the lasts with a couple of pairs of thick socks just to make the lasts a bit bigger and thicker, because I knew I'd be wanting to wear these with thick socks and you know, tights as well. So just to get a little bit of extra room in the boot for my sock covered foot, I made the last that little bit bigger with sort of thick socks and wrapped it all up in plastic to kind of protect the lasts and the socks as well while I was making the boots. I'm forming them around the lasts, and that did the trick. Made them nice, sort of big enough to make these big sturdy winter boots with plenty of room for socks as well. So that was that. Summer, I also just made these very simple little, they're just glorified sandals really. The bottom is eco panel, which is like a very thick felt. They're covered in just white vinyl with white vinyl straps. A bit of denim on the side just to hide the dirt really. They're just very simple, nothing to them. Almost run out of time for my 15-minute limit. So thank you for listening. Yeah, I'll be back next time with what I'm up to next.